Welcome to Tasting the Peninsula. I'm Eric, your host. This is Jeff, your co-host. This is Kim, the owner and distiller of Tradesmen Vodka, and he's going to show us what he's got, which is impressive. And I have a special guest here today. My brother, David, a winemaker,
Hello.
has come to join us. So it's going to be a good show, guys. So Kim, why don't we look at where it starts, which is right here in the distillation process. Now, you're using apple juice.
Yep, apple cider. For my process, I get 100% apple cider from the east side of the mountains, and it doesn't have a high sugar content. It is just basically organic.
Nice.
And so that's what I use for my fermenting process.
You know, when you make vodka originally came from the Russia, Slovakia area, and they made it from potatoes mostly, but most vodka out there is made from grains because it's cheaper and easier to get. So you already have a step up with that. And I got to tell our viewers how we met. Harvey's Hot Buttered Rum Mix is probably one of my favorite businesses. Incredible people. And tell us what you did. She introduced us.
So Stacy has a rum mix, Harvey's rum mix, and a friend of mine had approached her and to try my apple crisp product. And she was so impressed by it that we made up a concoction or recipe from her Harvey's rum mix, and it's been very popular. In fact, we introduced it last year to the Puyallup Fair for the Winterfest, and it was their #1 drink. And so this year, #1 drink. So this year, again, they went ahead and put on their menu for the Winterfest and did very well on it. So we're excited about that. That's neat to be able to promote Stacy and her product on the Harvey's rum mix and my product as well.
My favorite people.
Yeah.
So we start off by putting organic apple juice in here, and this is not steam driven.
No, it's by electricity.
So you can control the temperature precisely.
Right. And I like it because with the other still that I've done, it was by electricity. I knew temperature-wise how to produce and get a good result. I've kind of duplicated it with this, just made it a little bit larger.
This is such an impressive setup. Most people start in their garage and nothing's matched to work together perfectly. They kind of do what they can. This is amazing. So when it begins to vaporize, it goes up this column. And you have plates in each of these.
Right, roughly at about 190 degrees, it starts working its way up through all the plates. About 195, it starts working its way up this column.
Well, inside secret in the wine business is liquor. A lot of distillers say, oh, I put 7 plates in there, so my vodka is distilled 7 times. And I don't think that's particularly honest, but it's legal. So theoretically, we could say yours has been distilled a bunch of times.
12, 13, 14, 15, roughly 15 times.
Nice. Well, so it goes up here. Now, this is where you would put the botanicals if you were going to make gin, correct?
Right. That's exactly right. I haven't quite got to that level yet, but that's on my target.
Excellent. And then where does it go from there?
So then it goes ahead, hits this valve, comes straight down here, and runs up these columns to the very top of the column, runs off the top of the column over into the condenser, and that's where I hit it with cold water.
Yes.
And then it distributes down into the pots that I've made.
I'm so glad you did this. So basically, what are these different lines?
So the first line is for the 4 shots. That's the stuff you don't want to drink.
Right.
You
That's
basically
the first
toss it
part
away.
of the distillation run, correct?
Right. That's the first product that comes off. And I have the math figured out, and I go ahead and draw off roughly about a quart.
Okay.
Of 4 shots. Then it goes into the heads, which is off of here. I turn off this valve for the 4 shots, go into the heads, and draw off until the sample changes, actually, is one go, because it varies. It varies quite a bit. And then I get into the hearts. I turn this valve off.
That's the magic part.
Yes.
In Russia, they call that the golden circle. It's usually at most 30% of the distillation run.
Yes. And so then I'm sampling as I go along. I spit out, I don't drink it because, yes, it affects you at what's coming out of here, which is roughly about 90 proof.
I was going to say 170. Yeah.
180 proof.
180. Wow.
And so then I'll draw off that on the hearts, and then I'll go to, which is this one, and then I'll go to tails, which and people that are distilling say it tastes like wet dog, which it does actually, and you can start to pick up that flavor in the vodka, and so then that's when I'm collecting everything. I don't put that in my product. Usually what I'll use it is for redistilling. It has a high alcohol, or it goes down.
So you can still reuse that alcohol and redistill it.
Right.
That's perfect, because I have a feeling that a lot of the less expensive or less talented distillers don't take off as much as you do on the foreign tailings. I think that this is probably optimal for vodka, and I think we're going to find out in a little bit.
Yes. Well, what's interesting, no matter what you do, I find it varies all the time, from the different temperatures to the temperature in the warehouse that I'm doing to the humidity.
So the very air.
Yeah. And so this gives me the flexibility. It may not be the fanciest type of distilling. It's not computer controlled, but it gives me the flexibility each time to produce a product that I'm happy with.
Well, that makes you an artist.
Yep.
My favorite kind of artist. Well, so what are these?
So these
They're jacketed for coolness, right?
right. And I haven't jacketed. I don't have cooling in these usually, or I do use them for storage.
So many wine and beer brewers would use something like this.
Right. And so what I'll do is, building up my vodka, I store the vodka in here, or the apple crisp in here. So then I can fluctuate or have inventory, so to speak, that's not bottled. That if I get a big demand, I can pull off this tank, fill the bottles, and meet the demand.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So those two tanks are not chilled.
No, currently they aren't. That's my next step. As production goes up, I will chill these. I actually have a chiller over there that's sitting there that I can mount, and then there's jacketed.
They're already jacketed, which means that the cooling fluid would go through all these and circulate
Right.
on the outside.
And so there's little ports in the back on these for inlet and outlets to cool them.
I have to tell you, those copper column seals are so beautiful.
So this is
So much great equipment.
this is my next stage. So on the other side of the tank is the still that's there, 185 gallon.
Let's take a look at that, guys.
I'm impressed with the one that's right there.
It's been a workhorse. I worked very hard to actually meet an order that I had, and I worked actually 24/7 for a month to produce 2,300 bottles of vodka through that.
Wow.
But I had to do the math, and I had 16 hours of sleep in 1 month
Oh my God.
producing to meet the demand that I had to do.
Huh.
So that poor little thing worked its heart out. So yes, it was.
Stallion.
Yes. And I found out in distilling, it's very important to take care of your equipment. So I've cleaned the column down. I try and keep it clean on the outside. It's like anything. It produces as long as you take care of it.
Yeah. Right.
And cleanliness really makes a difference in the breweries and wineries, especially breweries that I've been to, and distillers. And I could eat off this floor.
I'm always mopping this, and if I spill something, I'm picking it up because that is important. But hopefully you'll see this next time when you're in here producing for me. But that's as production picks up, that this is a backup of equipment that I have to take us to the next level.
That's awesome. Well, I think that I would like to sample some of that Golden Circle vodka.
Good.
I know it's going to be pretty strong, but I'm not driving, so.
So Eric, do you want to try?
I want to try
this one.
Perfect.
So this is 70 ABV, alcohol by volume, or 140 proof. You can try that. And this has not been cut by any water.
Right, this is straight out of there.
Yes.
Well, alcohol by definition is odorless, flavorless, colorless. But the mouthfeel, the texture, that's what's important.
So let me know. It has a little bit of a sweet taste. I don't think it's bitter. And if you want to.
So much better than the last time, and I like the last time. This is beautiful. You're right. It has a sweetness. It's got a roundness to it. The texture is excellent. Doesn't burn, and I'm drinking stuff that should be burning.
Yeah, 140
Not slow
proof.
on it, but
140 proof, yes.
I really like the flavor right in the mid palate. It's almost like a sweet bread or
Yeah,
I don't know.
I can't put my finger on it, but it is very unique.
I think it's like plum, just a tiny bit of plum in there.
Okay, now, yeah. So I worked very hard the last time you were here. I think we had a little bit of a licorice flavor.
We
Cheers.
did.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm so happy with that. I'm really glad that you're producing this quality. Because I want you to succeed.
Well, thanks.
You're already succeeding in here. Now we got to get you out there. Well,
So,
shall we taste some of the other?
I'm glad you guys were able to try this out.
Me too.
Thank you.
Quite a bit of a different taste.
Very much so.
It is. And I just really like it. Of course, you're known for your apple cinnamon.
Well, the apple cinnamon is right in here. So either I can get you here. Let's use new cups. Yeah. This makes it pretty easy. It might drip, but I'll give you a little bit more because this is 40%.
Beautiful color. That is a beautiful color.
You need to smell it.
Oh, I'm gonna smell it. Like I smelled the tank before you guys cut your sink.
Good job.
I'm not gonna drink it. I just want to smell it. Oh my God.
So what I do with this is I use apple cider.
So you ferment with apples, but
Correct.
there's not much apple flavor left by the time it comes out. And then you reintroduce it with apple cider.
Then I use apple juice, and I heat it and cool it multiple times. And then I use cinnamon. So I found out the ground cinnamon, I was grinding it up quite a while, but then I had a sediment issue. So then I used the sticks and literally just broke up the sticks and put in a
Oh
bag.
my God, this is incredible. It's even better than the last time I tasted it.
Really?
This is incredible.
I keep learning each batch.
It's a process.
Yes.
It's sweeter than I would have anticipated.
That's the cider, but yeah.
No, I agree. But I was not anticipating the level of sweetness, although it's not cloying. It's just a nice, pleasant surprise.
Oh, it's perfectly balanced.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And
Nice round mouthfeel. You should be proud of this, my friend.
I need to push again with Stacy because if in a cold winter's night, some Harvey's rum mix with this added to it and a little whipped cream. I think Eric's tried it in the past and it was a little addicting.
Yeah, I woke up dreaming about it one night, I think.
So each batch is kind of unique. This is batch 8. It's for 30% ABV, alcohol by volume, and that's 60% proof.
Right.
So I tried to make something that it wasn't too strong and it goes down very smooth. And on a summer's day, you can use it on ice or pour it on ice, and it's very refreshing. But it does catch up with you.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. This is one that I would not use.
So yeah, that's kind of the process. And I've used Washington apples on both, which is the apple cider is made from Washington apples, and the apple juice is apple juice made here locally, and it's a concentrate.
Right.
And the only thing that I kind of went out of the country is on the cinnamon.
Sure.
And the cinnamon.
Grow cinnamon trees here.
Yeah. And so I use the cinnamon bark. And no sugar's added to anything. It's all natural sugar that's in it. And even in the processing, all I use is a yeast and a nutrient and no sugars for it. And of course, I'm very proud that I didn't tell anybody that I entered the competition 2 years ago with the Apple Crisp in the Denver International Competition and won a gold medal.
That's
So that was
incredible.
first time.
With that.
Yeah, first time ever. So I didn't tell anybody, and then I was reading through the results, and I go, well, I don't see my name. Well, I made the mistake that it was a previous year, so I wasn't there, and I got the notification for the second year, and I went down the list and saw I had a gold medal. So I feel very fortunate to have had that happen.
You deserve it for this product.
Thank you.
And that's just a straight 80 proof.
Yes.
This is great vodka by itself. And again, it could be an eau de vie. I mean, it pay $50 to $80 for a French apple Calvados. And this is basically that.
And so I keep refining it. My goal is to have just a hint of apple. I think the sample that you had, once I cut it with water.
Right.
And what I'm doing is, rather than using regular water or filtered water, that I use rainwater.
Oh, that
And so,
water's softer and has no mineral content, so it doesn't distort. Nice. I had always heard that if you use the wrong water to cut vodka, that it will actually spoil.
right.
And so I always wondered about the water whenever I taste stuff.
So I thought that made it kind of unique.
It makes it
Someday it's going to say it's Seattle rainwater. It's not Seattle rainwater yet because they don't make any drinkable water in the state of Washington yet. But that would be my goal. But that's the only two ingredients that I have. It's gluten-free, and so I use the apple cider distilled and the rainwater, and that's all I put in it.
Well, that's a good point. I didn't realize that since you're not using grain, it's all gluten-free.
Yeah.
And this is nice. A lot of people need that.
Right. And so that's available in the 750, the 200 milliliter, and the 50 milliliter bottle.
So if our viewers want to come out and taste this, they can find this in Hagen's and some Kroger's.
No Kroger's yet,
Okay.
but Total Wine in Bellevue has both. Total Wine in Puyallup, Tacoma, and Federal Way have the apple crisp.
Nice.
Or they can go in and bug their bars
Well,
and bring it in.
that's how you introduce something
Yeah.
that is unknown, is through the bars, because theoretically one bottle sold to a bar can 20 to 22 people could taste it.
Right.
Whereas if you buy one bottle off the shelf, one or maybe two people taste it. And you want to put this in the mouths of as many people as you can, because it will spread, and that's how you'll move up. I like it.
But if people want, they can go online to
Okay,
www.
that's good.
They can purchase it online.
Perfect.
And so I don't know if they can contact you, Eric, I guess, if they want our information or.
I'll have it on the end of this video.
Okay.
All right. So I was really fascinated during the break, the conversation between you two. So as a winemaker, as a distiller,
Basically, I was just telling Kim that that what makes it an art form is that you instinctively feel and know when things are right. You let the product speak to you. It's not oh, this table says X, so I did it for 37 seconds. You know and you feel, and that's what makes this an art form. And that takes on it gives it a special personality
Yes.
to the drink. And so I really admire the way that you're doing it.
Yeah, each batch, like we talked about, the humidity, the temperature, the batch, how it was fermented, all
Absolutely.
come into a factor. So I'm watching the still,
Right.
making sure that it comes up to temperature. Once it hits about 190 degrees, 186 to be exact, things start happening.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, one plate starts filling up with water. The next plate, all of a sudden, you see I have gauges everywhere. I'm watching those gauges, both
you
pressure
have
and
to, you have
temperature,
to, yes.
because as soon as it hits that last step, I know on the condenser that it's got to be 120 degrees or between 100 and 120 degrees
Right.
is when I start adding water.
Right.
Well, if that temperature goes down, then I'm not producing the product that I want. I got to bring the water temperature back up.
Back up.
And once I'm in that fine equilibrium, which is playing with the valves that you can see in the background,
absolutely.
that you start getting a product you're really happy with. To
Absolutely.
me, that's the fun of it.
It is.
Because
It is.
it's kind of like a science project, I
It
tell
is.
people.
And enjoying it and having fun with it also adds more to the personality of your product.
well, and as you were saying, things can change in a second.
Right.
So it's also kind of exciting.
Well, you can come out and all of a sudden the temperature is up and you're going, how do I bring it down?
Yeah.
And it's either by adding water, more water or less water, and then fine tuning it to get it back in equilibrium.
Nice.
So yes, that's the fun and that's the passion that I have about it.
Well, your passion, let's talk about that. How did you come to be a distiller?
So in the past, probably the past 6 years, I've helped, we're in the mechanical contracting business. That's what is my background. And I helped design and sit down with the owners and came up with drawings. I'm not an engineer, but I know what it takes to, basically it's a modified boiler. so to speak. And so I listen to the owners of what equipment they have,
Owners of
the distilleries
distilleries
or breweries. Yep.
Perfect.
A little bit on the wine side, not a whole bunch. Most of that, they've gotten sophisticated enough that they're
Correct.
already designed. And so we'll work together. And so I started figuring out that I had a passion, or I really enjoyed helping produce a product from a conceptual idea to a finished product.
Carrying it all the way through the process.
Right.
That must be satisfying.
It is. So a concept to a finished product is so much fun. So
And then now it's the beginning of something else.
so how it happened is that I was involved with the distillery. We had a meeting with our employees, and one of our employees had a past distilling business east of the mountains in Pullman. And he had equipment that he had closed down the company, and I said, well, let's figure something out. I go, what are you doing with the equipment? He goes, well, I want to sell the equipment. And I go, well, awesome. Maybe we can work together
Absolutely.
and produce something.
Absolutely.
And so I started up this company. And so through my conceptual idea and him teaching me a little bit about distilling, we moved things forward. But like any company, people change, things change, situations change, and I ended up doing things myself. So I learned by going online what it takes, talking to other people as well, and started producing. And then I started giving out samples to people and asking questions, observing still in the distilleries that I was doing of what they were, how they did things, what they did, what were the problems. And I kind of fine-tuned that as I built this distillery.
No, that's incredible.
And so I've learned a lot. I enjoy a lot. As you can probably tell, I have a pretty big passion for it.
Yes.
Oh, very much. And I guess, as you,
Didn't your wife come into this at some point?
my wife has, we have a company that we both, I still is 50% of my time taken there, but as I've gotten older, it's kind of been a good excuse to figure my easy way out of retirement, so to speak, but she's running the day-to-day, and it's a mechanical contracting business that we built, bought it from her dad about 16 years ago, and that business has grown and done very well to allow me to do this. And so that's been a nice advantage to have.
It is.
It's a good overlap.
A lot of arts require an income that's you're not making yet in the art. And I know something about this. So I think it's great that you were able to do that. And I think it's great that you make such a wonderful product.
Well, thanks, Eric.
You're welcome.
And thanks for your insight on that, and I highly value your opinion on it.
Oh, shucks. Stop. Okay. On Tasting the Peninsula, we have a lot of fun. You've seen us at breweries and distilleries, and wineries and cideries, and we're always tasting alcohol, and I have to tell you, it's a good time. But there's a reason why we spit. I've been in the wine business 35 years, and I've seen people that couldn't make it because they had a problem with alcohol and didn't realize it until they started sampling a lot. We have our own story here about how we almost lost Jeff. And thank God he's back. Our viewers, and tell them why you're smelling but not tasting this.
Well, I had a problem with alcohol, and I almost lost my life about a year ago. I was in the hospital off and on for over 20 days. And the doctors at that time really didn't know what was going on with my body.
I heard that they didn't expect you to make it through the first night.
They told my drinking buddy that we don't think we're going to be able to save him. And what happened was Ron and I had barbecues every weekend. This was a barbecue in the middle of the week. I got off work. It was a very stressful day. I didn't realize how much bourbon I was drinking, or tequila, or whatever. And I went over to his house. We had some barbecue pork chops. I probably had 2 bites out of the pork chop, but I drank every liquid I was given to me. So I got home, wasn't feeling well, and for a day and a half I had the dry heaves. So when I finally called the nurse on call and told her what was going on with my body and what have you, she just basically said, get in the car, have somebody drive you to the hospital. Ron drove me to the hospital, and I was in the hospital for off and on for about 20 days. They sent me home a couple times, and then I went back either the next day or the next 2 days because I was completely dehydrated again. The whole thing, it was a learning experience for me in the fact that I didn't realize I was an alcoholic. With the amount of alcohol I was drinking at the time, not because of the show, it's because when I got home after work, the pressure of work and what have you, I pour me a glass of scotch or whatever, or some bottled tequila. Or,
And you loved wine too.
wine is my passion, and you know that. Wine is my passion. So I haven't had a cocktail, wine or beer since May 4th of last year.
Congratulations. I think it might have gotten so bad because you don't have the negative feedback system that the rest of us do. It's called a hangover. You never got hungover, so you never realized.
I never had the checks, is what I called it.
Okay.
I never got a hangover. I've been called a lot of dirty names because I didn't get a hangover, but that was the case. I never had a hangover. Woke up the next morning, I was fine. I was ready to go drinking again. And the problem is I have that damn gene. My mom died as an alcoholic, and I'm not going to die from an alcoholic.
We're not going to let you.
Thank you, sir.
And I think it's so awesome that you can be part of this show still, that you can talk and smell and be part of this world without hurting yourself.
Well, that's the whole thing. I asked one doctor that finally found out what was clinically wrong with me, and he said, you need to get off the sauce. And he goes, you're an alcoholic. And I didn't realize I was an alcoholic. And then he said, your esophagus is all screwed up. The bottom of the esophagus has ulcers in it, but on the top is what we're concerned about because it's like a real thin paper that's in your throat. And instead of having one little hole in it or two maybe, it's full of holes. And he goes, if those holes get any bigger, there's not a damn thing we can do for you. So that scared the daylights out of me. I said, okay, I'm done. And I haven't had a drink since. It's been rough. It was rough. Smelling good quality product.
Oh, sorry.
I almost feel guilty, but I know it doesn't bother you to see other people.
Well, I go every weekend to Barrelstone Vineyards.
Marrowstone is one of our favorite vineyards. James is amazing.
Yeah. And I don't drink wine. I take my sparkling water. It's either flavored or not. And that's what gets that. I have a support group that they don't pressure me at all. That was my first concern, that I would be an outcast, and I'm not.
We love you.
I love you guys.
Welcome back to this show. Thank you. Thanks, Jim.